Kia ora tātou, nau mai haere mai. Wade Manson here from Sport Gisborne Tairāwhiti, and you're listening to our podcast, The Sideline Yak. Kia ora koutou, welcome back to our segment of The Sideline Yak, Chronicles of a Coach, where we get three coaches in a room and discuss topics related to sport.
A lot of athletes I've talked to who are females have talked about the problems when they've got their period and their coaches not understanding how they're feeling and not being able to perform, and they're still doing the program that the males are doing.
On this episode, I sit down with Arna Majstrovic, Rose Hulls and Kelly Swann-Ferris, three teacher coaches who have worked in and around community and high-performance sport and teach PE and health. They have been involved across a wide range of sports, including surf lifesaving, netball, football, swimming and waka armour. Our kōrero today covers what sport looked like for them growing up, their influences, why they got into coaching, and we touch on discipline and resilience. We also discuss trials and selections, coaching females, and how we can normalise conversations about periods, hormones, and the menstrual cycle. This was a cool conversation and something I think we need to be discussing more, especially female health in sport. The more education on this topic, the more opportunities we have to create positive sporting experiences for our coaches and athletes. One last thing, I paraphrased the book in our conversation, so just wanted to acknowledge the book and the author, The Spartan Mindset, Mastering the Language of Excellence by Reed Maltby. It's a great book. If you have a topic that you would like discussed next time on Chronicles of a Coach, please email us at the address in our episode description. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Arna, Rose and Kelly. Kia ora. No mai hoki mai, welcome back to The Sideline Yak. The episode that we're doing again today is the Chronicles of a Coach. Very fortunate to have three wahine toa, Arna, Rose and Kelly. Before we kick off, I just want to, again, just do another shout out to Rangai for allowing us to use the facility. Awesome podcast facility. So if anyone is out there wanting to start something or keep going with something, it's perfect. You can come solo or you can get 4 people in the room, which is great. So yeah, thank you, Rangai. Okay, ladies, kicking off today, what I want to do is we'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, what you do. And also, sorry, I forgot to mention that all three are teachers. So another cool thing to add to this. So I'll start with you, Arna.
Yeah, kia ora. Ko Arna Majstrovic toku ingoa. I am a teacher at Gisborne Girls High School, and the main sports I'm involved in is surf lifesaving and netball. I grew up in Makatu in the Bay of Plenty and went through high school in Te Puke, ended up in Waikato doing my teaching degree, and then found a job in Gisborne, and then got in the Gizzy trap, found a husband and been here 12 years. So yeah.
Nice, thank you. Rose.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Rose Hulls. I am also a teacher at Gisborne Girls High School. I'm from Wairoa, went to school by Lake Waikaremoana, and then moved up to Gisborne when I was a teenager, and then been here since. And then I went away for university, went down to Dunedin, studied PE and health down there and teaching, came back, and then I've been travelling on and off for about 6 years, using sport as my main focus to drive that travel, and then back in teaching. Been teaching in Gizzy for six years or so. I've got 2 kids, one on the way in about 5 weeks, so excited about that.
Cool. Kia ora koutou, ko Kelly Swann-Ferris toku ingoa. I'm a teacher present teaching at Te Whare Whaiho, which is the teen parent unit at Lytton High School. Been there for going on 16 years. Makes me feel old. I started my teaching in Gisborne at Gisborne Girls High School, teaching phys ed and health, then had a little stint at Sport Gisborne Tairāwhiti as an active schools facilitator, which is an old term now because that no longer exists. But my sporting, I'm involved with netball, bit of surf lifesaving when I was growing up. I did competitive swimming when I was younger, and more recently I've been doing waka armour, which has been awesome. But yeah, that's me.
Ka pai. Thank you, ladies. So we're just going to kick into it, something that we do pretty much with everyone that comes on the show. What we'd like to hear, or for you to share with us, is what sport looked like for you growing up. Should we kick off with you, Rose?
Sure. Growing up, sport was my life, basically. Everything evolved around sport, and that kind of kept me out of trouble, probably at schooling a bit too, because I had no time to get into trouble at lunchtimes and things. My first sport I kind of started with was hockey. Our whole family started and was into it, and as little kids we used to travel to Wairoa together and play on a Saturday morning, I think it was. So always into it. When I was in high school, my main sports were basketball, volleyball and football, and if I wasn't training, I was playing it socially, and it was just, everything was about sport, which is why I went into PE teaching once I left school. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Kelly?
So, yep, my whānau were quite sporty, especially my dad. So we were, pretty much put into everything you could think of when we were growing up. But mostly I did competitive swimming in my earlier years, so that meant 5:30 a.m. trainings most mornings, and then again in the evenings. I guess I gained a lot of discipline from that kind of training regime at an age where, should have been sleeping. And then I also loved netball, which sometimes clashed with my swimming because I wanted to do both, but that sometimes couldn't happen. But just like Rose said, being involved in a lot of sport also drove my passion to be a phys ed teacher. Just couldn't think of anything else I'd rather do. And sport has been something that's just kept me, out of trouble as a kid, and just had given me a focus most of my, young life. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Arna?
Yeah, thanks. For, I guess, my family as well, same as these ladies, is that they were very sport orientated. So they were key role models in my life to be heavily involved in sport. My dad's a surfer, so naturally I'm growing up in Maketu. It's that kind of town that you either get involved in the environment or you get on the wrong road. So we got involved in the environment and we're at the beach all the time, learning to surf at nippers at a young age. Mum was the little nippers coach, so you got dragged down every Sunday, but I loved it. Went to a little kura in Maketu, so I was this tall, skinny white girl, stood out like a sore thumb. So I just had to use my sport as my way to prove, my worth at that school. So I did a lot of surf life saving was my main sport, or two, because Mum was a netballer, and then athletics naturally grew into that with the surf life saving. And I spent pretty much the same every morning up for training, every evening after school training. I was so tired that I couldn't cause any trouble. So that was kind of the golden child, because I was just too tired to do anything else. So you develop that resilience, that discipline at an age going through that teenage stage when you're going through all those different hormonal changes and things, that you end up being so focused on a goal that some of those other things that can happen to the teenager kind of get phased out because you've got that focus. So it was, just a lot of sport, a lot of physical activity, a lot of routine. That wouldn't change it. It's brilliant.
Nice. I just want to throw something out and I'll open it up. I've heard you talking about, the three of you talking around staying out of trouble, sports that you're involved in sort of help with discipline. Did you enjoy it? Was there enjoyment still in there within sport, especially when you're growing up?
Loved it. Yeah. I think I can speak for myself that I think when the results come and you are the best at what you do, then you love it. I don't know if it's for other people who are just grinding away and they're just not getting the results that they want. It might become a bit more of a tedious task, but because I was getting the results, then I just wanted to do it more and get better and better. So, it was great.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same for me too. Sport kind of came naturally, and so I picked up things really easy. So then when you trained at them, you got good, and then you're at the top of your game. You're always trying to push higher and higher. And I loved things that made my body hurt. You just want to do more of it. Yeah, it's good until you get injured.
there were some times where you felt like, oh, my friends are doing this, I wish I could go and do that. But then, yeah, like the rewards and the good things that you get out of participating in sport sort of outweigh those, those things that you're missing out on. So I guess that's...
And what I say a lot to my athletes who have that kind of discussion around their social life and their training, like I always use the line is that not everyone can be a national or world champion. Everyone can go drink, socialise. You've got this period of time in your life where you can be the best at what you can be, do it, and then you can fit in the social stuff, but you've got the rest of your life to tap into those avenues of your life too. So that's kind of what I kind of had my mentality growing up, is that I've got this time to be the best and I want to do it. And then I can socialise after, I can go out drinking and things once I've achieved it, or after you've got your results, celebrate sensibly.
Nice. Just exploring the word discipline again, like how did that come about? Was just the repetition? Was it like obviously the motivation for the rewards? And we may have just sort of touched on it, but I'd like to understand that a little bit more. Like how did you become disciplined?
I think it's probably to start off as the support network you've got, because you can't have that discipline when you're younger if you haven't got someone willing to take you to the places you need to be. So having like a really strong support network allowed, like living in Makitua, I lived 40 minutes away from my training location. So I had parents that were willing, or other people around me, to drive me to those. So they helped set that routine. And then from there, it just kind of naturally develops that, like we've mentioned about getting the results, then you know what it takes. So then you become more disciplined. And people might say, oh, you're so motivated. It's like, well, actually, no, I wake up and I'm absolutely zonked, but I'm disciplined. So I get up and I know that once I do it, you're ticking the box, you're getting towards that goal. And it just starts to like become a part of who you are.
I think also as you get older, you're aware of, like Arna was saying, what's involved in getting to that point, not just your discipline and your training, but everything else that comes into it with cost, the support, and what a lot of other people are putting into it. So not only do you not want to let yourself down, you don't want to let other people down as well. So I think that comes into that, wanting to be disciplined for yourself, but also for others.
What got you interested in coaching?
Once again, just having that passion for sport and wanting to give back to your sport for what it's given you. Also, when you have children, kind of there's the expectation that you're going to be the coach of whatever team they're in, and that's fine. So I haven't had a problem with that. I've coached my daughters in just about every netball team that they've been in, and sometimes I think, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But yeah, at the end of the day, they're getting that opportunity, and others are getting that opportunity as well. I like being around young people. Okay, well, you wouldn't be a teacher if you didn't like being around young people. That's probably my reason for coaching. Yeah, and having had good coaches in the past. So my swimming coach back in the day was Gary Martin. And yeah, he'd say sometimes he was grumpy, but most of the time he was awesome. Hope he's not listening. But I also had the chance when I was playing for high school old girls for netball, I had the chance to be coached by Lee Gibbs for a year, which was amazing. We won it that year. So that was extra special. And also, and Sandy Edge as well. She coached high school old girls as well. So having had those role models and those coaches who have performed at an elite level, coaching you is pretty inspiring as well.
Yeah, I think I'm probably similar. Like, I think that sport kind of can shape who you are as a person. And I think from the people around me who have been influential and put a lot of time into them, like there's not a lot of money in Sideline Saving, a lot of it's volunteer. You don't really get monetary rewards or payment for being a good athlete. So it comes a lot from the love for the sport. And I think once you finish, you either find a new passion or you grow your passion. And I think if people choose to coach, they're just growing the passion that they've already had as an athlete. And that's what I like to do, is like grow the passion and then help young children or young athletes become better people. Like not necessarily better athletes, but just better people for society. I think that's what really drives me, is helping them with their whole life, not just sporting endeavours.
For me, coaching, when I started getting into coaching, was probably more when I first started teaching, and it was a way to get fully into the school and know the students better. And, with teaching, it helps so much if you can get to know the kids outside of the classroom, and it helps with that relationship as well. And then in the situation I was in, because I was playing football, so I could teach and play in the team with the students. So that was also a benefit, and I really enjoyed that. And just seeing them kind of grow and build and get excited about that, that was kind of what pushed me and wanted to do more and more. Interesting you're saying about coaching your kids. My kids are little, like 2-year-olds. I can't wait till they play sport because I will be coaching, So I am really excited about that, and just to keep building on that and just get more kids, more people into sport. It's so good for them, and not just for their physical fitness, but their whole well-being, to build on all those different aspects and and bring in that support.
Nice. I love it. Kelly just touched on as well around her influences within sport, especially around that coaching, being coached by others. The two of you, Arna or Rose, is there any influences that have helped you in your career or journey that stand out?
Yeah, I had the same surf life-saving coach for like 15 years, and he's still a really close friend. Spindles, anyone in the surf life-saving will know Spindles. And he was just such a nurturing coach. He was like, I've got a father, but he's like a father figure. Dad used to get annoyed because he's an avid surfer, and he would tell me where to go paddle out on my kneeboard, and I'd be like, nah, Dad, like, I'll listen to Spindles. And Dad's like, I've been surfing for like 40 years and you won't listen to me. But like someone who's really actually thought about your whole self, and thought about treated females the way they should be treated in the sport, which was like my first time that I sort of realizing that we are different as people, as athletes. So he was, and that was going back 15 years. So it was quite cool that 15 years ago he was already picking up on how to manage the different types of people and genders within a training group. So I think for coaching and my sport, Spinners would have been the biggest one for me.
For me, most of my coaches were my school teachers, actually, which is probably why that's what drove me to go into it as well. Yeah, and it was just a good way to get to know them, understand what limits you could push, and I think also playing sport with your teacher as a coach, you can kind of use that to your advantage in class a little bit too, and get away with a few more things, which obviously my personality, I always try and push boundaries a little bit, and so that was always a good pull for me. But and most of them were my teachers. Beyond that were just older people that had been in the game, but had kind of moved up.
Just something I want to touch on around being teachers and coaches at the same time. And we know that the rate of teacher coaches is dropping. Why is that, in your opinions? What are we looking at? The workload, or is it time, or what is it that's really the struggle for teachers?
Yeah, nailed it, mate. Workload, time. Yeah, it seems, I was actually talking to my husband this morning about it. He said, is there a rule in school that teachers have to be involved in extracurricular activities? And it's not. And it ends up being the same pool of people that you use time and time again, because they're the only ones willing to give up their time to actually do it. So, it's sad, because the kids, the connection we have with our akona is so much better than the other teachers, because we see them in a different light. We see the girls that struggle in the classroom shine out on the court or the field, and then you find a different way to be able to teach them and to find their strengths, and then they open up more because they trust you and they see you out playing or coaching, and they love it. They love seeing a teacher on the court or the field having a go. They think it's epic. So even if we are getting rusty, they still love it.
Just brings something else out in us saying when we have to pay students. It's even, we can't let them better.
No, paybacks.
Okay, so we're going to move into a topic that we're going to have a little chat about. We've got a couple of topics on here, and one of them is around selections or trials. Probably the first question I want to throw out there is, why do we have selections and trials?
To find your teams, to find who's interested in playing, to find out who is the best for our top teams, and then to put girls into teams who might not have huge social groups but still want to play. So we have trials or musters, because some girls don't want to trial but we still want them to be involved. So it's more we have them to gauge who's interested, how many teams we need to make up, and then who's competitive, who's social, and then we obviously trial for our top teams because, you know, we all want to win in school level stuff and go away on tournament weeks and things like that. So
I like the way you just chucked in there, muster. It's funny when we look at coaching language and the words that we use. I know if I threw out trials, straight away people get nervous, worried, anxious. When I throw out the word muster, it's like, oh, we just come down, we're having a run around. It's not necessary. So I suppose it's, what am I trying to get here? It's like using language to help kids alleviate some of those fears, but it's also how we actually create that process for a trial. Something that I'm quite interested in, I know that you guys have done something different this year. Well, I don't know if it's just this year or if it's happened before. And the question I was going to have was how have trials and selections evolved over the years? But the really interesting thing I saw this year, especially for Girls High, it was around student voice, and the trials were closed to parents. And sort of part of the reason, I guess, was around that safe environment for kids to be able to turn up and just be themselves. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit more?
yeah, I think we, Lisa, she's our teacher in charge of netball. She's having a year off this year. We've been working on netball the last, I guess, 5 years together now. And we just noticed that change in the girls' demeanour when they've got parents on the sideline and they are playing, but they're looking at their parents, and then parents are shouting out things, and then other kids get intimidated, and then the selectors also have that kind of feeling of they're being judged as well. So it was more to give everybody a fair chance, give the selectors a fair chance to actually watch, have discussions without judging eyes, and for the kids to play and be themselves, because, I mean, 9 out of 10 kids don't want their parents there. The parents are just being nosy. They want to get in, they want to try and put their kid where they think their kid belongs, and everyone's kid they think is an all black silver fern, you know. And sometimes they need a little reality check, and that's what a closed child does. And when we put up teams, we are 100% happy to have the conversation with the parent if they're not happy with the teams, and we make sure that we've got all the evidence there required to back ourselves. But it's more for our students, because they just get the chance to actually play and not feel as though they're doing the wrong thing, and they seem to relax a lot more too. So it's worked really well. Last year was our first year, or the year before, and then this year we didn't even have one. No one even tried to come in. So I think it's pretty obvious now that that's the way we do it, and it works for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly, anything from you? Just I see that you're coaching this year.
Yes,
the girls'
I'm
team
coaching this year, so I couldn't attend the trials last year and have a look and have my say from the sideline. So no, I like that idea. It does, as a coach and a selector, give you that peace of mind that, like, you're not being judged. You're not going to have all these parents coming back at you because they've seen what happened at the trials or whatever. Yeah, and the girls do play a lot better when it's just all the girls and nobody there giving them the side eye or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed the trials process this year. Yeah, I think it works. So why change it? No. Yeah.
Can I just take you back, because you did mention you're a parent before that. What did you think? Like, in terms of, like, how did you process it, I guess? Because there'll be a lot of other parents going, well, why aren't we allowed to be there?
Yeah, I just accepted it because I understand what it's like to be a selector and a coach, and as a player as well. So although I couldn't go last year, that was just, oh well, can't go. That's it. I didn't try to get in there. So yeah, no, you just got to respect that that's the process, and that's what works for the students and works for the school. So yeah.
Cool. Student voice is important, and I think it's very bold and courageous of the schools to be able to do that, lead it by the kids to say this is what we want. So well done on that. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Looking at the kids that don't make the team, there's that impact of non-selection. How do we help in that space, or what do we do?
Well, the girls know from the very beginning that there's a place for all of them. Everyone's going to make a team. So some girls think they come and they're not going to make a team, but we always make a space for everybody so no one misses out. For the impact of non-selection, it's just, I guess that's the relationships that we build with the girls, that they trust us to make the right decisions and then have those conversations with them. And a lot of the time, you know, the girls that aren't selectors, we tell them what they work on so they can get better and they can work on that season to then improve the following year. And it comes down to, mostly the relationship we have with them, that we can have the conversations. But a lot of the time, the teams make themselves, and the girls do know where they belong a lot of the time. And if they're on, you know, they're going to nearly make it or nearly not make it, they're usually quite content with that, because they were like, well, I could have maybe just made it, or I know that that's where I sit. So, yeah.
I just want to build on the thing that Arna was saying about having the conversations after the selection process. So it's not just about that one trial or one muster that they come to. There's a lot of kind of background or foreground stuff that you are having conversations with individual students, and I think that is all part of the selection process as well, and trying to get them to understand it's not just about skill as well. You know, it is all about who gels with who and how the team works together. And there might be attitude and other things like that they need to work on. And, you know, it means that if you're in another team that you don't really, or you want to be in a better team, you've got a year to work on it, and right, that's your goal for next year, you know, so building around that too.
And we also have an attendance policy for our top teams, is that you have to be at kōrero at least 90% of the time. And that's also to go away on tournaments. So sometimes we've got kids that we're like, well, we know that their attendance isn't very good. So if they're on par with somebody, and we're like, well, if they're not going to attend school, then, you know, it's going to go the other way, because they can't come to tournament week, which is compulsory to go on tournament week if you're selected.
Is there anything that you would, and this is probably a personal opinion, anything that you'd like to see differently done with trials?
It's a hard one, because it's all dependent on the numbers that you get. And I think it's the kids' confidence is coming into the trial. So it's the pre-season stuff. So like if we're looking at the quality of a trial, so if a trial, it's the kids actually getting the mentality that they need to do the work before the season starts, not that the trial is the start of the season. So I think in the trial process, it would make it a lot easier and better for the girls if they kind of knew what they should be doing pre-season to start better. But we're really lucky. I can't talk about other sports, but in netball, we work really well with Gisborne Netball, and they help us out with trials. So like years before that, we would have a lot of trouble with trying to put girls into teams, you know, someone coordinating, putting in teams, and then the selectors. But now Gisborne Netball, like Mon and Crystal are awesome, and they come and they help us with putting the girls into teams and then running the spreadsheet over, and then we make sure that it's really even. Everybody gets the same amount of trials, and then once we have to get to the nitty-gritty, that's when we pick out and we do match players. So that's helped with our trial process, which is probably something that needs to happen in other sports, that they've got some outside people coming in with the logistics side, so then kids feel as though it's fair, because that's the main thing, is that kids come away saying, I didn't get a fair trial, I didn't play in my preferred position, or I didn't get enough court time or field time. So that's probably something that needs to be implemented in other codes, so then kids go, okay, I got at least this amount of time, I had an equal amount of time, I got the chance to prove myself, and I was either good enough or not good enough in those moments.
Yeah, because Arna just touched on fitness, like coming into, well, just talking about netball, the netball season, because the netball season starts quite early and we need to get trials done, you know, pretty much the third week back at school. Some of these girls probably haven't picked up a netball since they last picked up one last year. So some girls are active like during the summer period doing various things, touch and surf lifesaving and waka, but there's those ones that are just netballers and probably didn't do or don't know what to do pre-season for netball. So it would be quite cool to run some kind of pre-season training with the girls that are looking to go for the top teams. Yeah, so that's something I might look at next year, because as I'm coaching the girls high senior A this year, just to keep them in it, because I did notice that there were some girls at the trials who I thought, their fitness level was a lot down, and if it had been up where it should be, they would have been better contenders for those spots in those teams, if you know what I mean. Yeah, because you have to, when you're running the trial, you have to take them on what they put out on the court and those trials, not necessarily on how they played last year or previous years. But yeah.
Nice. Sorry, just a really quick shout out to Mons and Crystal. We've had them on our podcast as well. So if anyone gets a chance, have a listen to those two as well, because they've got some great insights around netball. But yeah, I think from what I'm hearing, definitely clear objectives, clear processes, communication is key. And if you can get some insights from the students, I think that's very helpful. But awesome to hear what you are doing within the school. So that's really cool. We're going to move on now to a topic, coaching females or young women. Interesting topic, because we have brought it up. So the last Chronicles of Coach we did, we had Sparksy, Adam and Keenan from basketball. And we were talking around how coaching boys is different to coaching girls. We did a voice of the coach survey out of all the coaches. So female coaches are coaching across male participant teams, female-only participant teams, and mixed participant teams. The male coaches that filled out the survey were only coaching across mixed participant teams and male participant teams. So we didn't have actually any male coaches highlighting that they've coached female-only teams. This is an area that I really want to explore a lot more. Obviously, being a male coach, I'm by far no expert in this at all. So having you three on here is awesome. There's a little bit of vulnerability from me in terms of I'm going to ask some questions that might be uncomfortable, but I think they're definitely questions that we need to be asking, and we need help in this space or support in this space. So what are some things we need to be aware of when coaching kohini or wahine?
That they are a mixed bag of emotions. Some days they come in and they're ready to go, and some days they don't want a bar of you. But I think the main thing is that they can be really vulnerable, and it's a space where they can sometimes feel really safe, and they need you to not just be their coach, but to listen when you need to listen to them, or to adapt things if they're not feeling it, and to support them through whatever roller coaster they're going through at that time. But then, it's like people, they're all different. You've got some girls that come and they just are here for a job and they want to get it done, and others need a little bit more support. And then, and then we've got the hormones that are very different. So, you guys think?
Yeah, same. I find, coaching boys, everything was black and white. You could say one thing, they'd do it, and it was this or this. Whereas with girls, there's a lot of grey area. And if yelling at them is not necessarily the best way of getting something done. And like Arna was saying, some do come to training with a lot of different things that need to get dealt with, or they need to get off their chest before they get into training. And I think being aware of that helps, even if it's a 5-minute conversation that you need to have before training starts. And that could be the difference between an awesome training for them and sitting on the sideline or not getting involved very much. And I think, that one of the biggest things is just being aware of that emotional well-being aspect of their life, and especially in the teenage years. Something very small can be huge to them, and just being aware of that and telling them, yep, we understand. This is what we're going to do. Yeah.
It's quite powerful. So I just jump in there. When I first started working for Sport Gisborne Tairāwhiti, we had a bunch of high school kids that came in, and we talked around like what would they like to see in a coach. And one of the young female athletes there, students, they actually said, if I turn up to a training and the coach doesn't acknowledge me right from the word go, I'm not going to try my hardest then. I'm out. And that to me was sort of like a mic drop moment, is that, everyone's different, but we've actually really got to understand our players a lot more. And I think that's quite powerful in the sense that kids are able to, like, for someone to actually be able to sit there and articulate that and say, this is what will happen. I think that's quite massive. So then you can start working out solutions or putting things around that to help out. But I suppose that leads into the next question. How much of an effect can coaches have on their athletes?
Huge. Like some kids come and they don't have a role model in their life and they're looking for that from their teachers and their coaches. And if you just show that you care and that you're there to listen as well as coach them, then it can be life-changing. You talk about a lot of athletes that have come through and they asked, like you asked us who our influences were in the coaching world, and we all spoke about coaches. So you can, and teachers, I think we can all probably think of the teachers that made a change in our lives, and I think that can either coaches can keep them in it or they can get them out of it. So it's a lot to do with how we speak to them, how we treat them, and how we coach them, as if they're going to make it a lifelong commitment or they're going to have a go and then get out.
Yeah, definitely. Just the way you speak to your team, that mutual respect. It's not like maybe those more traditional coaches that demanded your respect and didn't really care if they respected you or not. But yeah, I think that's all changed over the years. And yeah, it's more like a athlete-centered approach, student-centered approach, whatever that is, a lot more now. Because a lot of kids these days are coming with other issues, like anxiety is a big one. Yeah, like that's probably like that the girl that said that if she wasn't acknowledged, yeah, so that self-worth and feeling like they belong is really important to keep kids involved in sport and wanting to turn up every day.
Yeah, and if you're not allowing them to think for themselves, then they're never going to learn how to get better. Like my thing is that I want my athletes to learn how to self-correct, how to analyze themselves, so then they know. I'm like, I ask them questions about how they went, so they're telling them what they did. So, like having that athlete-centered approach where you have a lot more conversation than just yelling and telling, then they're going to learn more about themselves and the sport. And then if you're not there anymore, then they can actually still carry on. If they come across a different coach, it's not like that. They still know how to improve themselves.
I just want to touch on, Kelly, when you mentioned around the old school way of coaching, and it's something I read just the other day around when you have coaches, and it's probably a challenge out to all our coaches. The old school way hasn't changed in probably the last 50 years, yet medicine changes nearly every year. We don't see surgeons putting leeches on us anymore. Like the Wright brothers invented the plane, but everything's evolved, everything's gotten better. So, you don't see a 1900s fire truck putting out a fire anymore. We've got to face that challenge. Like there's different ways of doing things now. Just going on a little bit around, and this is the question, are hormones and periods a taboo subject? And how do we start normalizing this for coaches?
Educating men about it is how we make it not a taboo subject.
Perfect.
And also just talking about it, making it, normalizing it, telling our students or our players, let us know, it can affect performance and how you're feeling and all of that. So,
like, I can't do PE today because I've got my period, miss. It's a red flag day. It's like, no, you can still do it.
Yeah. I think it's also education with the students or the athletes. Like I've done a bit of work. I was lucky to be involved in Te Hapatanga, which is a scholarship for elite or emerging female coaches. And it was for a year and a half, and you go to lots of different camps and you get all these guest speakers in, and it's through High Performance Sport NZ. And we had one on the menstrual cycle, and that you can actually how you utilize your cycle to improve your performance and how you train when your hormones are at their peak. And during your period is actually a time where you can be your strongest. It's just managing the symptoms of it. So if you don't have the symptoms, then you can still actually perform really well. And the week afterwards is when you're at your strongest too. So it's something to allow the girls to realize that it's not actually an excuse to not be physically active. Like, yes, they might feel lethargic or have cramps or be heavy, but it doesn't have to be for a whole week. They need to learn how to do that, and that movement actually helps release a lot of those symptoms. So it's a big educational thing, and it's just a cycle that has just become the norm, that you use it as an excuse to not keep yourself moving. But then we look at the whole haora, then that's going to boost your mood if you're feeling that way, and that everything's evolving. All the period products are evolving, that you are able to be very physically active with a period and not leak.
Do we need to be doing a lot more in the space? Especially, obviously I know that within schools you're doing a lot in the space, like educating the kids around that sort of stuff. But do we need to be doing more within the coaching space?
Yeah, definitely. I can't speak for all the sports, but in surf life saving, it's a male-dominant coaching space. And a lot of athletes I've talked to who are females have talked about the problems when they've got their period and their coaches not understanding how they're feeling and not being able to perform, and they're still doing the program that the males are doing. And we've got this, and a lot of coaches do it still, that they, and I'm guilty sometimes too, is that the girls do the same as the boys when we're so physically different, that our training program should be altered to the different needs of our bodies. So it's just, it's an educational thing for probably males and females, because if you're an older female coach, then you've been taught the old school way as well, that you don't really talk about it, or like it's tapu, it's your own thing that you hold in your space. But the more conversations we have, especially for our emerging elite athletes, then the more that they're able to excel when they are going through that, because it's a cycle, it's a month. So we've got a whole month that we have to, and it's ongoing. So, and it's also around talking about health, when, the health around your period. What's the healthy period look like? Like, how do you use that to benefit your training? How do you use that to benefit your future? People think, I don't have my period, so I'm training really well because I've trained so hard, my period's gone. But really, it's an unhealthy attribute, because periods help with bone density and your iron and things like that. So there's a lot of things that girls are unaware of, and coaches, that needs to be talked about.
I'm going to throw out a question. This is from Tracy, long-time listener, first time asking a question. Do you consider cycle syncing when you plan your trainings?
So all athletes get their period at the same time? Is that what you mean? Cycle syncing?
I think it's okay. So this is I said to her, eh? Don't throw me under the bus. So cycle syncing, I think it's the stages of the cycle.
I think that's a hard one, because everyone's on a different cycle. So if you're in a team sport, that's probably not near impossible, but pretty hard, because every athlete's going to have a different cycle. If you're coaching an individual athlete, then 100% something that you should think about. And if they are an athlete that's happy to communicate that with you, then, and you build that relationship, then it's something that you should do. So when they should be doing their strengths, their power-based stuff versus their endurance. So it's something that should be thought about. But I think it could be dependent on the type of sport, and I guess the time that you've got. Like maybe Silver Ferns totally could do it because they've got all the resources. But if it's your local high school team and they're going through their teenage days where some might not even have their period, so it's it's a hard one.
Yeah, I suppose something else you mentioned around was the energy levels. So I suppose if the education piece, if people, if girls are aware of what they can and can't do, then it helps them. And if coaches are aware of that as well, then they understand where the girls are at that time. Looking at how to create positive environments for our girls training, and something that I have heard before is around going to a local sports field and the toilets aren't even open. So girls turning up that potentially may have their period are actually going, well, I'm going home because I can't go to the toilet. What's some things to help others to think about?
I think one of the biggest things when I was coaching football and even playing football was, and I'm not too sure if it happens now, but the men were allowed to train on the number one pitch. Females were never allowed to train on the number one pitch because we were going to wreck it, or you weren't allowed to. So I think a big thing for females is that equality with males, and that the sport is equal, especially with those sports where, you have equal amount of participation from both genders. So that's a big one. Yeah. And another one is the facilities, making sure everything is available. in the different areas that you train, whether, even if it's, okay, we need to use somewhere else for this session because it's got all the facilities. And I know in Gisborne sometimes it's quite hard because some of them are a bit run down. It all costs money. So sometimes it is a bit difficult to have that, but just being aware and making sure that they're feeling like they are treated equally and not below males.
And even simple things like it's just a given in our first aid kits at school that you've got period products. So like in every sports bag, when you're at your first aid kit, you've got those things ready available. So if something happens, the girls have got one. Like so many times girls have come up and they've asked you and you just know, we get free period products anyway. So we've got an abundance of them, but it's like, it's not a barrier for them. You've got that available. You've got a backup option in your sports bag for girls that may accidentally get it when you're at training and things like that. But yeah, just backing what Rose said, just having things open, available, toilet space, having somewhere to put their period products is a big one, having those bins, because that's another big problem that we have. Like you need to have one in every bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose it's that not only positive but safe environments. Other things I've heard around timings of trainings, like if it's at night time, I know some places they don't have very good lighting in car parks, or you're training so far away from a toilet, if there is a toilet, and little just things that we probably take for granted that we actually aren't thinking about, just to like assess, reflect, look at things and just understand a bit more. Have you got any tips on how to have safe and supportive conversations with young women about health for our coaches?
It depends on what health it is, because there is that place where the coach needs to keep themselves safe as well, especially to do with mental health. So, like you might be qualified in that space, but I know as teachers, we often need to refer them on to the guidance counsellor, because that's their expertise. And if we were to take that on personally and something happened, then that kind of brings us a little bit at fault, because we need to let the professional know. So in a team sense, in a sportings, we're lucky at school that we can, if we see something around mental health problems, is that you can have that conversation with them. Just it's that relationship. I couldn't go in cold turkey meeting a girl for the first time and have that conversation. Like it's a relationship thing. So it's probably, if you notice something, that you go in with a little bit of idea of what advice you're going to give, like, and where you're going to send them. Because if you're not a professional, you need to say, this is where I want you to go, or do you feel comfortable with me contacting these people? So make sure that you've got the resources to tell them what you're going to do with this information. If it's to do with mental health. If it's a physical state, then you can have that conversation around their nutrition, if they're overtraining or their sleep and all that sort of stuff. So that's like a pretty safe one that you can have with them around that too, I think.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. I think also just being open with them, like saying like, oh, I don't feel comfortable giving advice about this. Can we talk to so-and-so, or can we talk to parents or whatever? So just being open and saying, I don't feel comfortable talking about this, but I want to sort this with you. Where do we go from there? And I've been in that situation a few times, and the kids are happy for me to go to someone else if I didn't know what I was wanting to say or wanting to do. But yeah, they were very grateful that I actually talked to them about it and didn't just go and do it and then come back to them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a resource thing. Like I've had athletes who it's to do with like they're physically performing awesome, but their sports psychology is not up there. They haven't got the mindset. So then if you've got the resources to link them to a sports psychologist, then you can. So we've done that, but it's because this female athlete was involved in high performance. So we had the funding to get her a sports psychologist to help her with her mindset. So it's a bit hard when you're kind of in a small town and you might not have all those resources. But if you do and you've got access to it, then you need to use them and utilise them.
Kelly, in terms of like your coaching as the coach of the girls team, but you've got that obviously that teacher background, but do you feel that have you got the support of the whānau and the teachers, or what would be something that you would do in that space if you had
Obviously,
situation?
We were kind of just starting the season out. So, yeah, I definitely feel have got the support of the staff, the netball, like teachers and stuff at school who could support me in that area. Also, the netball centre again, Crystal and the development team there, they've got heaps of resources and stuff too, especially around injury prevention and stuff like that, making sure that the girls get their injuries seen to and get them sorted properly, not Google physio how to look after my sprained ankle. But yeah, just for their own safety, because they are so young and we don't want them to be playing on injuries that are going to be detrimental to them continuing for, affecting their playing after school in the future. Yeah, definitely feel supported. Hopefully we'll make some good connections and relationships with whānau as well. I really know some of the whānau or some of the girls in my team. So, yeah, looking forward to working with them this year.
Cool. No, that's awesome. And I suppose something, definitely making sure you keep yourself safe as well. I think knowing that most of the time if you are coaching young women, obviously the school is the best point, I think, sometimes to go to. If you do you have an issue, connect with the school first. There'll be teachers like yourselves, obviously, that you can connect with that will be able to help support you have those conversations. So I think never try and go out probably all on your own. You could get yourself into situations that you don't want to be in, but definitely making sure that there's others involved is good. One last bit just to sort of finish off this topic. There's a quote by Wayne Smith, and it got brought up, Sparksy brought it up in the last conversation we had. Men need to play well to feel good, whereas women need to feel good to play well. I'm just keen to hear your thoughts on that, how you'd unpack that.
It's pretty old school, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. I coach two awesome boys, and they need to feel good to perform. Like, they're just the same. Like, it's that mentality of, if we're going a little bit dark, but the suicide rate amongst young male athletes pretty high in, like, rugby league and stuff like that. And obviously there's an aspect there that's been neglected, that, so they don't play well, and then obviously they don't play well, then their mental health goes down, and then they don't play well again, and then it just spirals. So I think that's, old school. And I think it depends obviously on the athlete about how some athletes might be like that. But yeah, I think it goes both ways. I could just play well and feel good, or I need to feel good to play well, and a male could be the same. Yeah.
I think also if anyone is feeling good, then you're more aware of how you play and what's going on around you. If you're going in when you're not feeling good, you sometimes have that tunnel vision. And yes, sometimes it might, playing and change that attitude, change how they're feeling. But I mean, if everyone's feeling good when they're going into any game, surely they're going to be better.
And I think a big thing that we've seen deplete is the resilience of our athletes, especially our teenage girls. Like, I mean, I've used it on netball court. I'm like, I know when I play against a high school team, all we're going to do is rattle them and they're gone, because they haven't got the resilience to then support each other, pick themselves up, think of different strategies, or plan A and play B. So that's like something that needs to be touched on a lot, is how we're going to develop resilient athletes so that they know how to feel good when they play, and when things aren't going wrong, they're not then feeling bad. They know how to keep on feeling good, and they know how to lose and still feel good, instead of having, this days of feeling really bad about it, So I think, resilience is a big thing that coaches need to implement. I'll try to anyway.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's awesome insights. I love it. This topic's been really interesting. There are resources out there. I know Sport New Zealand have a hub, a balanced female health. It's a resource to help coaches and parents who are working with young females. So if there's anything that others want to be educated a bit more around, then that's available. I think reaching out to schools, reaching out to your RSOs, your regional sports organisations, is always a good point. But I think this is a conversation I think needs to happen more and more, and I think it'll be something that we'll be looking at doing a bit more about as well. So thank you, ladies, for that. That was awesome. We're going to finish off now just looking at a couple of last questions that we have just around your own personal experiences. Second to last question we're going to do is how has failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
Failure has allowed me to be, it's forced me to be more reflective. So being more reflective on what happened, what I could change, what went wrong, what went right, and what I could do next time. So when I go into situations, whether in sport or otherwise, if something doesn't go as it should, I'm like, oh well, I've learned from that. Won't do that next time. Let's try and make it better next time. So that's probably my biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that I thrashed the word resilience then, but I think that's how failure has with me as an athlete, like not making a world's team or not winning a national title, and then figuring out how from there you navigate yourself as an athlete, and lots just drop off. But I learned how to, push through that, train harder to then get my spot or win that title back. And that's what I've been working on heaps with some of my athletes who aren't getting the results that they actually have the ability to, but how do we set them up to build that resilience, see further into the future and set new goals. So I think it's developed a lot of like perseverance, discipline, like we talked about at the start, to then kind of get me where I am now as the lead beach coach for Surf NZ. So it's like, as an athlete, I've developed these traits and now I'm getting successful in my coaching field in the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, so resilience is a big thing, eh? It should be failure to do anything. You just think about how you can get better so that you can have some success. So you're just always setting new goals, reflecting, reevaluating what didn't work. And I guess that's what I'm going to be doing as a coach. It's like lots of reflections, lots of evaluating things that didn't go well on the court, how the girls can do that better, and trying to transpire that into them so that they know how to do it on the court without me having to tell them. So that's building up their resilience and their own belief in themselves, I guess. And not when things don't go right, how to change it instantly. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And the final question, what does the value of sport mean to you?
I think it's probably everything. The value of sport, like I think it builds character, it builds social skills, it builds motivation, discipline, it builds new skills. I mean, we don't want to toot our own horns, but I think PE teachers are pretty good communicators. Like we know we've got good interpersonal skills, and you think about, devices have taken over the world and kids have forgotten how to talk to each other, but in a sports team, you're forced to communicate, and it just builds up that kind of character to be able to work with others, learn the skills to how you talk, communicate, and I think there's so much value in it that it just doesn't just make you physically fit and healthy. It brings a whole lot of characteristics that help you set you up for your life.
Oh, Anna, you're so good at explaining. Amazing.
And just rambling, eh?
It's hot.
That's good. Yeah. This is what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think if I didn't have sport in my life, I would be a totally different person. Like I wouldn't be the person I am today. And just as Arna said, like the discipline you get, like I'd say that most of us are morning trainers here.
Yeah.
Early risers, get the work done, and then you can relax later. Because if you leave it till later, you just don't want to do it later.
Mm.
So that's my thing, is I don't find it hard to get up and do what I need to do in the mornings. I guess I also am a better trainer as I've gotten older. I don't know, I see the benefits more than maybe when I was younger, and wish I knew all I did back then. Yeah, I think sport is, and I'm just trying to pass that knowledge on to my children. In my job, I teach young mamas. They get a rude awakening when they come to Te Whare Whahua because they got to be active now. So just trying to inspire and influence others to be active and enjoy being active and make it a lifelong love process.
Yeah, all the qualities that you're trying to teach your kids and also your students, you can do it through sport and in a fun environment. Motivation, communication, empathy,
being
kind to people. Yeah, be kind to those who may not have the same skills as what you have, and putting them in that environment, but in a safe environment where they can do that. Yeah. Can't speak enough about sport. Everyone should get into it. Just
Make
something.
your life better.
Yeah,
Game
it does.
changer.
No, that's perfect. Absolutely love the conversation today, ladies. I think to have 3 ladies like yourselves in the sporting world is amazing, but to also know that you're within the teaching space, the education system, just your ideas, your principles and values and everything is just, it's really, knowing that you're in that space teaching these kids is just wonderful. So ngā mihi nui, thank you very much for coming on today. I know, unfortunately, everyone won't see a video because we didn't do a video, but it's a little bit hot up here. We had to turn the aircon off, so we've done very well. But no, honestly, appreciate your time. I know you're busy ladies, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights. And like I said, we definitely need to carry this conversation on a lot more with coaches in this space. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, God, thank you.